of our IG. Hey, she here. What's up? For folks coming back, we were just having a really great conversation and we want to continue. Okay. The way we left off, speaking of, amongst other things, besides just social political themes and reality shows, organizing, Colombia, immigration, we were starting to dive into a conversation around abolition, starting by talking about what abolition looks like in racial justice spaces. Not racial justice, sorry, immigration justice. And naming the need for abolishing ICE, abolishing detention centers, abolishing capitalism, abolishing imperialism, and abolishing colonialism. And what does it look like? So let's continue.
So you brought up capitalism.
Okay.
I shared something the other day, and it had just kind of come to my mind because Sinja and I were watching something, and it was talking about how life expectancy in the last 100 years has almost doubled.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn, like life expectancy is only like 70 or 80 years old now. Like it was only 30, like so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like looking into it, and I'm like, okay, so like a little over 100 years ago, life expectancy was only 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't expected to live much longer than 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, we work longer than that now. Like, what would we have done back then? Like, we would have worked for like a couple years. Yeah, we'd have worked on the farm since we were children, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, nowadays, like, why do we work so damn much? Like, why are people expected to work? So I just posted. I was like, we're expected to work more than what the life expectancy of people were 100 years ago.
Right.
And I have, who used to be like a good friend of mine, he like messaged me and he's like, oh, this is complete bullshit. This is like entitlement and like poor work ethic. And like my dad's 67 and he's like building a house for his wife, and he goes to, and then when he starts that, and then he goes to his job during the day, and then when he does that, he still helps out his old job at night until they find his replacement because he did that for 27 years. And I'm like, and he's like, you know, what else would you expect him to do? I'm like, well, damn, at 67, I hope your dad would find joy and like peace and maybe chill on his front porch, drinking some coffee, reading a book. And I'm like, you know what? And I was like, actually, like what I would like wish for your dad is joy. Like if him working these jobs is joy for him, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But if he's doing these jobs, hurting his back because he just needs to survive, and you don't see anything wrong with that, and you're messaging me, how dare I even think outside the box? Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem there.
Yeah, people ask me about what's up? Oh.
No.
Yeah, people are asking me about I guess what it looks like for me. I mean, it just like to me it's like about being relaxed, and like you said, it's like sometimes working does relax you if you're really energized by it, but there should be just no stress. There should be no worries about like your livelihood. That's what abolition looks like, and that involves, you know, like whether it's police violence or food security or housing security, any of those things, utilities access, education access. Like there should be no struggle for these basic things.
Yeah.
And I think to me that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, and I'm sure some people don't love her, maybe, hopefully folks do, but just said it's basically like being in the suburbs. And I don't mean that necessarily like you have to live that lifestyle or that culture, but everyone deserves just good housing and a clean space to be, and utilities, and being able to just live without feeling constrained, without feeling like, oh, I'm lower income, so I have to live in a small apartment, or I deserve this because of this, that, and the third. Because like you said, some people, you know, like folks I see work at McDonald's are some of the hardest working people I've ever seen.
And that's what people are like, oh, well, success, if you need to work hard, if you want to be successful, you need to work hard. I'm like, you know how many people I can name who work 2 jobs for over 30 years and like they don't have what you view as successful because like they're not able to. Yeah. And like they're not able to because like cost of living is rising. Like I'm at what age, like for the, you know, 67 is old as fuck. I don't want to be working at 67. I want to be enjoying. Like when are humans allowed to enjoy their life? If they have to live and work to bust their ass every day to live to survive, at what point are they able to say, oh, now I'm successful? Like, what does success look like? And that for me has like changed over the years. When I was younger, success looked like I wanted a house with a nice yard and a white picket fence and fresh baked cookies every day. And now I'm like, success looks like how the fuck can I get out of the system as quick as I possibly can and like just be chilling? If I want to work, I want to work, but I don't want to have to work just to live.
Right. And exactly. Like, and I'm sure some folks, I don't know if everyone's read Communist Manifesto. Yes, I'm starting to reference Communist Manifesto on this live.
Which
But the idea was, out of the industrial culture, that it was just that, like creating space so that person working in the industrial plant can actually pursue being the artist that he wants to be. That the person working there can also pursue a degree in medicine the way that they want to. It's just giving us those options as opposed to, like you said, blinding yourself with survival. Um, where you have to eat so you can't think about anything else. That doesn't create a good society, you know? Someone said
and
capitalism convinced us the only way to be successful is to work ourselves to death. It's bullshit. All right, come on. Yeah.
yeah. And like, and to say that like the system that we have now,
Yeah.
like the capitalism is the only way, the free market's the only way. We see how the free market's working now. How many posts have you seen recently talking about, oh, all these jobs are looking for people and all these people are just still on unemployment? Well, because they realize that their labor is worth more than what they're getting offered. That's what the free market is.
Right.
It's just now that they're seeing that like supply and demand just doesn't have to go to the big guys and the guys who are producing items. It's actually going to the people who are actually making the items and putting their labor and actually doing the production.
Hmm.
That's where the demand is now. And so if you want them now, you have to pay more for it. And it's like, for some, like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I just don't understand people's mindsets when they're like, I just want, and it hurts me because I'm like, I just want better for all of us. Like, my views
Right.
aren't that I think I'm more entitled. I think I deserve more than this. I
Everyone.
want you to have what I want everyone to have. And like, it is possible. It's not possible, though, in a society who have the same amount of wealth of more than 100 million human beings. That's
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
not,
Hmm.
that's why we can't have nice things. That's why we're not allowed to have nice things. Because
Yeah.
we have this fake idea, like, and sorry, capitalism, oh, it works, it works, it works. How is it working? We live in a country that's huge income and wealth income gaps. I live in one of the most segregated states.
Hmm.
Connecticut is one of still the most segregated states.
Hmm.
You have a town in Mississippi that, well, now we're getting serious, but anyways, I was like, you have a town in Mississippi that was just desegregated like 3 years ago. Like, the system we have now isn't working for majority of. You have millions of kids who are homeless, millions of kids who can't feed themselves. You have schools saying that like what are they saying, like they're not going to feed the kids because they have a lunch debt.
Like a
Like,
$2
what
lunch
the
debt.
fuck is that?
If they can afford $2, let it go. Let it go.
And then the whole thing with like, oh, well, we can't have universal health care because I don't want to wait. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, I was able to have state insurance in Connecticut. So I have a wait for a neurologist. Sinjin doesn't have state insurance. He has a gold plan with Anthem and he has to wait 3 months to see a doctor. So there's a wait no matter what. Like, yeah, you can find some who don't have a wait. You can have no waits, but like, even if you have to wait, if it's not life and death, what the fuck matters?
What is the problem?
What does it matter if everyone can get it? And I don't understand how people can really not care who are just like who literally like survival, housing, you need house to survive, you need healthcare to survive, you need food to survive, you need water to survive. If these are the things that human beings need to survive,
Let's do it.
that's
I don't
like,
even know.
how can you say, well, you didn't work hard enough and you don't deserve this? You don't deserve this water because you didn't work hard enough for it.
I need like
Like,
an anthropologist in these comments to explain to me like how we as humans who are fully competent apparently have
and
created.
I'm the one that's viewed as a bitch and a hard ass. Like, I don't get it. Like, all I want is better for all of us. It's like,
I
that's all I
just
want.
I just don't understand how we've gotten to like what cretin decided that this is going to work. This is what we need to be doing right now. We need to start punishing people for wanting basic needs. I would love. I need somebody who has a good historical like background or anthropology. Maybe we'll find somebody to do a live with. Like, why are we like this? And the
Yeah.
thing is, there's societies that have existed outside of this, what we do now, but they've been colonized, they've been terrorized, imperialism hit them, and so they have no choice but to engage in the same way. It's a
Yeah.
mess.
It's this
You know?
like someone just said it. It is. It's this individualism mindset that we have,
Yeah.
and but as humans, like I learned it through relational uprising. Like
Mm-hmm.
as humans, we became the species we are as a collective, as a community, being there, supporting one another. Like we became the upright beings that we are because we had each other's backs, because we were supporting one another.
Right.
And so it is like Sinj and I always wonder, like, where, like you said, anthropology, where's that point that all of a sudden we're like, no, you can't be with us. Like, you can't be at the cool kids table. You didn't work hard enough. Like, where and how does it keep going? I just don't understand how it keeps going.
Yeah.
I don't see how people are okay with having millions of kids who are starving. So more homeless people than we have. We have more empty houses than we have homeless people.
Mhm.
Like, and
And
you
the
know how
amount of
many
money you
like
spend to, keep somebody in jail could be used to build several of these tiny homes or buildings or, whatever. But, at least in New York, it's like 60K per prisoner. Where's that
yeah,
coming from and why? Why
yeah.
is that happening?
In Connecticut, we spend so much on prisons. It's ridiculous. Like we spend like 50,000 a year to keep someone in, and
That's a whole college education. That's a house. That's a mortgage. That's a
and
lot.
a town, yeah, a town down the road finally. No, it's okay. Thank you. A town, not a town down the road. A town like an hour from me, Bridgeport, finally actually just divested 2 million, 2 million from their police department.
Okay.
The New London where I'm staying at, where I'm living at, like we're just trying to have like a 1%, I believe it's like a 4 million, 35% decrease,
Mm-hmm.
$4 million decrease in the police budget here. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much. There's just so much. I don't have to get into everything technical. Yeah, the concept of people not being able to live because they can't afford some things is just absurd to me. Absurd. And like the idea of like everyone has the same opportunity, but how many people do you know won't move into a certain neighborhood or zip code because of the school education?
Right.
So it's all these people who are saying, "Oh, everyone has the same opportunity as everyone else," but oh, I'm not going to buy a house there because I need to make sure my kids have a good education. So
Right.
do we all have the same opportunity or not?
Right. Um, Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how we've got, well, I think there's things that I can name, like just like growing up, about like how we become so individualistic and like kind of bootstrappy, and just not just being coached not to care. I think a lot of it has to do with the media, and I kind of hate going too far down that road because I think it like invites a lot of irresponsibility and lack of accountability. Um,
Mm,
but subconsciously, yeah, we're being coached to think about things in a certain way. I think I think I'm one of those people who has a very short attention span. I found reading, like really getting to like the joy and love of reading books changed the way I think about things, and like the way I don't feel the need to respond immediately to things, to think more critically. To It actually calms me down more because I'm not just reacting, but more like,
yeah.
oh, I just read like 5 books about this topic, and now I have a full contextual view of it. So I see the pattern, so I'm not surprised. Does that make sense?
I wish I read more for like intellectual growth. I read a lot, but
Hmm.
it's all trashy romance novels.
How about you share what trashy romance novels? Maybe one day I'll indulge.
I'm actually reading. Sinjin had found like a bunch of like books in a box somewhere, like some job site he was at, so he brought them home, and one of them was like a fourth book of the series. So once I read it now I gotta know what happens to the rest of the sisters. So I'm not actually much into paranormal, but it's like a paranormal romance series
Okay.
about sisters who are witches. I'm like, okay, this is up my alley. So I'm like, yeah. It's the Drake Sisters by Christy Feehan or something. Feehan.
Okay.
Um, that's the series I'm on right now. But I tend to actually read a lot of like, the Bridgerton series that came out
The what?
on Netflix. The Bridgerton.
Oh, that, yeah. So I haven't seen it.
It was like series about like the old times in England when there were still dukes and duchesses. Oh, are you there?
I'm there. It's just my power
Okay.
to recharge my battery.
I tend to I like my favorite genre is like the I forget what it's called. But it's the time where there was like dukes and duchesses and all of this stupid trashy shit, and it's all chauvinistic, misogynistic. But you know, I love it.
Okay, so we heard that Bridgerton, which I should watch. I don't know why. Just like maybe it's just like not my thing. Like I see the era and I'm just gonna like, but I'll check it out. I promise.
Yeah.
Give us
It was,
one.
I loved it because all the books I read, well, like those type of books, a lot of them are white, like folks. And
Right.
like, so then seeing this genre with like people of color, I was like, oh, yes.
Okay. Um, Give us one more. I feel like we're getting like a little summertime reading watch list going right now. So one more like romantic, trashy,
Um,
maybe not trashy novel.
yeah, they have to have those good deep sex scenes. Sinjin likes when I read these books. I'm always like, where are you at?
Oh, okay.
um, my favorite one that I was just thinking of, it's this family. Oh, it starts with an M. I'm the worst. I told you I have such a bad memory. And I
It's
know all the
okay.
books like by heart, but to like come up with the name of the family, when I think of it, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, cool. Well, let's see. Do you want to see if folks have questions, Tanya?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of just things in here. People are talking about Bridgerton. Do you see? Does anyone have a question that's productive? If it's not productive, we'll ignore it. Well, let's try to talk about, I'm sure that question's been asked a lot, Tanya, so we can go ahead and do.
I don't know when I'm gonna have a baby. I'd love to have one sooner than later. I
Okay.
hate how the show was all this like Sinjin and I definitely talked a lot before. And he saw like my 5 year and people are like, oh, you're such a crazy planner. I'm like, my 5 year plan was like have enough money to start being able to like look at houses when you're 30, have enough money so you can start planning a baby like when you're 30, have enough like that was my 5 year plan. Like
Right.
that's all I had laid out. I'm like travel, be able to buy a house, be able to start planning for a baby, and that was my 5 year plan.
Okay. And again, like, do you know when it's right for you? Like, don't let
Yeah.
pressure you, especially fans who don't know you. Let's see here. Shay was asking.
Actually, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, what your next human rights project will be?
Um, like full on project, I am not too sure. Well,
Okay.
actually, there's Mother's Day this weekend, so it's like the Bailed Black Mother's out, right?
Yeah.
That's usually that happens on Mother's Day weekend, right? So I was planning on looking into that and just donating some for that. But a project I'm working on, not too sure. I help my friend Ale out here and there with her deportation case. I did help a lot last year with her bookings and whatnot. Yeah, future projects, I don't know. It's another conversation about progressive circles in the left. I'm not too happy with it. Trying to work in it. Um,
I feel you. Let's see. We did kind of touch on this, but like, if there's anything else you want to add or say.
your sound drops some. I don't know if it was just for me, but
Can you hear me?
I barely.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you asking me, but it still seems very far away.
Sorry, like moved over to charge my phone. We're having a great conversation.
Oh, there you go.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. So someone's just asking, and you can like we've already touched on this a bit, but like what it's like being a woman of color on 90 Day. I think she might miss the first live. If you want to just
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say, like, it was being like a woman on the show and like a being a woman of color on the show and like the national TV having so much TV focus. It was hard. It was definitely hard. It was hard because it's like I wanted to really represent. It was hard because like one of like the first days of filming, I was asked to straighten my hair because I looked prettier that way, and I was like, fuck you. That's whiteness. I'm sure anyone who asked you to ask me that, they're all fucking white up there.
Yeah.
I was like, my hair is pretty curly.
Hmm.
And so it actually kind of threw me in a spin where like I was like, fuck the show. I didn't do my makeup. I didn't do my hair. I didn't do any of this. I'm like, you want me to look pretty? Like, fuck y'all. Like, and then now I look back, I'm like, well, damn, maybe I should have done my hair a little bit more. Like actually stood up and like made my hair nice and pretty curly and everything. But other than that, it was had its pluses and its minuses. I felt like I was seen a lot and really appreciated, but then at the same time, there was definitely, especially someone of color who I really thought would have resonated or had my back, but who I found out, like actually from friends who were like organizing circles who were like really like talking down on me, and I'm like, damn, like I thought they would be able to understand the fact that like I'm on a show and obviously I'm dating the hot white guy, and there's probably some things playing into that, but it didn't. So it was, yeah, there, I was like, I think I was hurt a lot more by that than like I was by some of like the negative comments I was having, especially the racist messages I was getting.
Right, because it doesn't matter. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're
Yeah.
like a person of color, it does not matter. And we've seen that a million times. Um, you can have $1 billion and you're driving in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. They don't care, and they're not going to ask, and they're not going to give you a benefit of the doubt, which is something we talked about as far as like the trend of just we just don't get that chance. We don't get the benefit of the doubt. Um,
Yeah.
so let's see if we can get a
Thanks,
couple more.
Tammy.
Tammy. Oh,
Sorry, this is my friend.
oh. Hi. Let's see. Someone asked, what's your favorite perfume?
So I actually don't really wear perfume a lot. So coming into I try to be as natural as I can be a lot. Yes, I do wear makeup, but I wear like natural deodorant. I haven't really found like a natural perfume I like.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this like really one cheap perfume I have from Family Dollar. It's like called Twilight or something
Okay.
that I tend to spray here and there. Oh, but my favorite perfume, and I actually found it like 8 years ago. I never spend money on anything. So anything I have, it's like a
Yeah.
friend gave to me or something. Like
Yeah.
I spend money once in a blue moon. I'm like, oh, let's go on a sushi date, and then I'll drop 300 on
Save
sushi.
your
But other
money.
than that,
Save your money.
but it's Pure by DK and Y. And
Uh-huh.
I gave it to Sinjin. I gave it to Sinjin like a month ago, and I'm like, okay, you have to go online and buy this for me. And I like put it in his pocket, and he's like, what do you? I'll remember. I'm like, you don't remember anything. I'm like, I'm putting it here so you remember. It's been a month, but still hasn't ordered it for me.
Sinjin, is Sinjin here? Is he in here?
He's
Okay.
downstairs.
Okay. Sinjin, get the perfume. Um, okay, cool. Well, I know what time is it? I have no idea. But yeah, so this has been really great, Tanya. We need to do more with you and talk to
Yeah.
you more.
I feel like we have a lot of great topics, and I would love to like pierce them out a little bit.
Yeah, especially like, you're talking about the leftist circles and organizing. I think there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. And a lot to talk about. So yeah, I definitely appreciate, one more question. Your tarot studying, I guess someone's like following your spirituality practice. How's that going?
So I have been I'm actually in astrology class right now
Okay.
with follow her on Instagram at Iman is 3 S's astrology. I'll like share her stuff later. I'm in an astrology course which I absolutely love, and it's teaching me to be able to read birth charts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited about that. With tarot, I was kind of doing some self-teaching with tarot. And then I gave myself not even like a really good reading. It was like a full moon, and I was pulling out the cards, and I'm thinking like self-care a lot, and I'm shuffling, and the self-care card like pops itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. So I actually haven't done tarot since. I'm like, I ain't ready for it. I need
Okay.
I was like, I need to probably do some more self-care before I get into all this. So
That's so important. Like before you get into that work, like making sure you're good. It's same with political work too. Like,
yeah.
like making sure you're good to go. When folks ask about her next human rights project, I'm sure it's coming, but we gotta make sure that we're available and that we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna hit you up offline about
Okay.
visiting y'all in Connecticut at some point. But thank you all
Tuesday,
for
Wednesday, Thursdays off.
yeah.
I was actually gonna text you earlier, but then I remember we were doing this, so
Yeah. So we're making plans right now to meet up for me to go to
yeah.
Connecticut. For everyone here, I haven't been to Connecticut since I was 21. So this is going to be a great experience for me. And I look forward to seeing you and Sinjin there. And thanks everyone for joining. This is really great discourse, really great conversations. There will be more. And we appreciate everyone's great and thoughtful questions. And yeah, until next time, Tanya, I'll see you.
Thanks, Candace. I really appreciate it and look forward to doing more.
All right. See you. Bye.